Hi, welcome to RVers in Motion. We're happy you're here and joining us. Today we're going to talk about personal mailboxes, right?
Yes.
And the importance of a personal mailbox, the services of a personal mailbox, why you have a personal mailbox. We're going to talk about our situation. We're going to talk about our personal mailbox. And the first thing I do want to say is we use America's mailbox, but we don't get any discounts. We're not getting any discount off the site.
We're not getting any referral money.
No referral money. But when we were thinking about what to talk about today, this is a really important idea or service that you really have to think about if you're going to be full-time. But we use America's Mailbox in South Dakota. Are they in any other state?
No, I don't think so. And they're also in
Pennington County, South Dakota. Why use a personal mailbox?
Because right now there's no wheel tax in Pennington County.
Right, no wheel tax.
Which means each wheel of your vehicle would be taxed so much per year. That could change in the future, but for right now there is no tax.
Okay, but we also talked about a personal mailbox is different than a P.O. box, than the U.S. Post Office. If you're full-time, you need a place, you need a permanent address. And so this is our permanent address. And we were able to get a South Dakota driver's license with this address, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But we needed a permanent address, and so how does that make it difficult? How does that make it a personal mailbox better than a U.S. Post Office box?
Flexibility, because we can get mail from FedEx, UPS, any type of carrier. They will accept that here.
But the U.S. Post Office, we have a personal mailbox number. The U.S. Post Office doesn't like that, so we can say apartment number,
number sign.
But Amazon and all those other places, they don't care. They send it to us. And because we're staying in the RV park of personal mailbox, if we want a mail pickup, we just let them know, or we put it online. And it was your idea for a personal mailbox.
Right, we learned this from seminars and talking with people at Hershey RV show in Pennsylvania. And this seemed to be the best one for us. We liked the owners. We liked what they said. They were very open and everything. Held nothing back on the issues with it and the issues not with it. So these are things that all in consideration. I should say some of the issues are, once you get a PBM number, you will not be able to buy a firearm from anybody, at least a dealer. A federal firearms licensee is against the ATF rules. So.
Right. So if we wanted to buy firearms, which we don't, in South Dakota, we can't do that.
Can't do it anywhere.
Anywhere, because we have a personal mailbox number, and they know.
Right. It's on the license. So
it's on the license.
So no way getting around that. Other things might be in the future. We're looking at how it's going to affect our banking. We have online banking now. Insurance. We're getting ready to change our insurance to South Dakota from our home state. Big thing about once you get the license in South Dakota is you have 90 days to plate your vehicles. And those comes with other issues. It depends on the state you come from, how it will be represented here. But basically, with us, our problem was Delaware has a thing called a dock fee, and they wouldn't give us credit for that fee, even though it was substantially quite high. The reason we got around the dock fee is because our title is older than 6 months, and being that, the state of South Dakota assumes that you've paid their dock fees or restoration fees, so it's a nil point with that.
Right. So if you come into the state and you want to get your residency and your vehicles are older than 6 months, then you don't have to pay any taxes.
As long as the title is older.
As long as the title is older than 6 months.
Oh.
But with this is a new RV, we had a credit from our home state, and we didn't want to have to pay that money when we got to South Dakota. So it took us a little longer, and we'll talk about that in another video, but it took us a little longer to get our license and some other business that we wanted to get done. One of the things about getting your license or you're changing your residency is you have to be at least one night stay in that state. Now, that's South Dakota, but we're not familiar with other states. But these are things, there are, what, 5 states that people who are retired should think about?
The big ones are Texas and Florida. I think
And South Dakota.
And they issue out-of-state issue driver's licenses, as far as we know, on our personal mailbox.
Right. But for retirees, it's a better tax-wise to live in one of these states. So that's why Ron chose South Dakota.
Well, there's no vehicle inspections.
Because there's no vehicle inspections. You only have to come back every 5 years. For what? I thought that was
Basically,
a vehicle.
every 5 years to get a driver's license.
I thought you had to get a vehicle inspection in 5 years.
Nope, just a driver's license.
Okay.
And obviously your plates we're finding out now, they do something based upon your last name and when they plate them. So this year we'll be plating, our plates will expire next year, I think in March, and then we'll have to get 5-year plates.
But we can do that by mail.
Right.
And the other thing is the services that we found. Now, there are all kinds of and many personal mailboxes. Why we like America's Mailbox, they have a lot of services here. For a fee, they do our plates. They took care of our registration. Titling. They have an insurance person on site. They're very flexible in terms of us getting our mail.
It's a physical building on the property. So that's basically our home. When you walk in the mailbox, it says, welcome home.
Welcome home.
It is our home.
They have free coffee in the office, and Ron always gets Tootsie Pops and Tootsie Rolls. He likes that.
Yeah. And the thing is, we found them to do what we need them to do. Now, we can't get our mail on Saturdays, but we're finding workarounds on that.
Yeah, and they only do mail once a day. I mean, there's limitations. So these are things when you're looking at a personal mailbox, you should think about what's important to you. What are some of the needs that you have? There was the driver's license, firearms.
Titling was one of them.
Titling was one of them. And we've heard other things. Remember, we don't get anything from personal mailbox or anything. This is just information that we hope will be helpful. I never thought about a personal mailbox. I was always going to use the address from, we don't have a house anymore, but we live or stay with our daughter and my future son-in-law. So I was always going to use that address, but it's really not feasible to just use that one address.
No, and at some point, like once we got the license, you got to register your vehicles in 90 days.
Yeah.
If we hadn't done that, our plates on the truck would expire sometime next year. That may have facilitated a drive back to Delaware, who knows from, to get new plates. So it's, once you decide to do this route, because you can do everything by mail, it becomes easier versus a state that has vehicle inspections. Texas has vehicle inspections, so that's why we did not look at Texas. Everything else is pretty much the same.
Right. I didn't know. I didn't know. And that's why I think that this is important for us to talk about, because when you're thinking about full-time and you're retiring and you're thinking about it, we started this a year or two before we even got on the road. We contacted America's Mailbox. Everything's online. There's 3 levels. The one thing we should tell people is when we're not here anymore in South Dakota and we're going to travel and we want our mail, we would call or we would have America's Mailbox send it. It can be very expensive for them to forward our mail. So to be honest, we don't have regular mail here. We get packages while we're here, and we get some mail. And from my her home in Delaware, our daughter,
sent us mail.
she sends us mail, or Ricky sends us mail. But you have to really think about that when you're looking at a mailbox. Now they have several levels that you can choose from, but I think we have the mid
We
level.
have the level we had doesn't even tell us we got mail.
Oh, right,
So we'd
right.
have a friend of mine has a service. He gets an automatic delivery every week sent to him. That wouldn't really work for us.
Yeah, because we don't really care.
We're trying to keep things that basically
We don't have our credit cards going there. We have them at a permanent address.
right. We have them in Delaware.
Right.
Everything we try to do is online. Another thing to think about is, sometimes when you leave a house and go to the next house, you go to the post office and fill out a form for change of address. Do not do that with a mailbox.
Why?
Of course, the costs involved, they will charge you at the wazoo. So even they tell you that. Change address with the people you need to hear from directly with them. Don't do a blanket change of address. Due to cost things, we don't know what those are because we never did that. So when we left Delaware, if it was going to my daughter's house or that house, it stayed there.
Right.
But we're now in the process of changing our insurance to South Dakota. And
Again, this is tax. The reason we did that as retirees and Social Security, tax wise,
there's no state income tax.
There's no state income tax. And now you pay when you buy things. You pay a tax. Most people pay taxes. Delaware, you don't have the tax. So, but it's much more cost effective for us to have this residency.
Now, with vehicles, you buy a vehicle in South Dakota, there's a 4% tax, I believe. Same as Delaware. So for us, it doesn't affect us. But my best advice is if your vehicle's older than 6 months, you got an old title on it, and no matter what you did with your previous state, at least for Delaware, I can't speak with another state that has a lower tax fee, you may end up paying some money out of pocket to register a vehicle.
Right. The reason we didn't have to is because Delaware is a high state tax.
Yes, it's higher than Delaware.
It's higher
than South Dakota.
It's higher than South Dakota. So South Dakota won't charge us anymore. They already assume we paid the higher tax. So if you find out what your tax fee is in your state, and then whatever state, Texas, South Dakota, Florida, there are several states.
Yeah,
you just ask and see. But the point I think that we're trying to make is
get everything lined up and think about everything.
yes, think about a mailbox, a personal mailbox. Work on it maybe a year before, so you're already ingratiated. You're already in it. You're already you've paid. You've already set things up, and it just makes the transition so much better. And also, we had trouble, a little bit of trouble in the beginning because of a situation with our home state, but these guys were incredibly helpful and very nice, and some laws changed too since we started. So you have to think about that. But I never knew about a personal mailbox. I never knew the advantages that you get from a personal mailbox. I have to say that was all you, dear.
Well, we both learned together, and we're still learning things, and we're still getting ways of doing things. And the best thing we can share with you is give yourself a little bit extra time if you're don't plan on a one-day here, getting a driver's license and getting everything done the same day.
Yes.
Give yourself at least a week or better.
Yes.
And if you do stay at the America's campground, all these services that we spoke of with tiling, you've got to be a member of their...
Right.
Yes.
Oh, that's a very good point. Because we met somebody a couple days ago who was in the situation, and he came from...
Their group is escapees.
And escapees told them to come here, but you have to be a member of America's Mailbox. Now, some personal boxes have these services. You have to ask. You may not need or even want these services, so it doesn't matter to you. We actually didn't even know some of these services existed.
Right. We didn't seem to care about them. And most of the things we're talking about you can do on your own. But then again, you could have more time to do these things. we're going to use them for our plates, everything. I can say the advice that we got us over to humps in the road, and they may not, for us, they're the best. There may be other ones out there,
Yeah.
but they fill our needs, right?
Yes, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but yes, that's for us. They work. We've watched other YouTubes where other people use other full timers use other mailbox systems, and they work for them. This is just one that worked for us. But these are questions that you need to ask. You need to think about what is relevant for you. If you're thinking of any type of firearms, concealed carry, how does that work in the state you're looking at? Do you have to be a resident for so many days? Do you have to live in a certain county? Do you have to take a class? These are things, if you're interested in, your personal mailbox should be able to help you. They should be able to give you that information. You can also call the state, who did you call? The state attorney general's office?
Well, that was about something else.
Right.
It's timing. But as far as she mentioned concealed carry permits in South Dakota, that is ran by the sheriff's office. They make the rules. Well, they don't make the rules. They follow state rules, but they can be
a little
how
bit,
they apply those rules,
a little different.
how they want them to be applied to. And like I said, don't come here thinking I'm going to get everything done in a week.
Right. Wherever you go, I think if we leave you with any message, overall message, it is, if this is your first, if you're beginning and you're getting all this sort of business done, give yourself time, a couple of months in that particular state, because this stuff takes time. The government takes time, and whatever you're told, sometimes it's not the correct thing, or things change. So I would say, I think if that's our biggest message,
Give time.
give time.
And even though you think you may have all your ducks lined up in a row, you're going to find that they probably aren't lined up in a row.
Right. They're quacking.
And
Anything else?
If you give yourself the time, you can work through the situations.
Yes. And we've had a blast here. So while you're in that state, you could do all these other things. We went to a Central State Fair. We went to a rodeo. We've seen all the wonderful things that South Dakota has to offer. And we're never, even though we're going to leave in a couple of weeks, we're still not going to get to see everything. So whatever state you're going to reside in for your residency, take advantage of all the things that state has to offer and make the best of it. We've had a good time.
Yeah, make your time count. I mean, if we're lucky here, if we see 40% of this state has to offer, but we're coming back again.
Yeah. So that's all I have. Anything you want to add?
No, I just think that there may be questions. I think, don't we take questions?
We take questions.
So we can then try to answer them best of our ability. We're not attorneys, right?
We're not attorneys, no. We're just full-time RVers.
And we're just trying to make it.
Right.
And learning as we go.
Right. We're just trying to give you information to think about, so you can make decisions that are best for you.
Or at least think about what you might need before you go somewhere to complete your stuff. And having a file cabinet full of files might be handy to have, because you never know what you're going to need.
No. Anyway, thank you for joining us. Thanks for your support. We look forward to seeing you next time with some advice about retiring and being full-time RVers. And please let us know if you have any questions or comments.
Or topics you might want.
Or topics you might want us to talk about. So thank you. See you later. Bye.
Have a good day. Bye.